the 1984 Under-18 All-Valley Karate Tournament. I'll never forget it.
I mean, you gotta remember, in 1984, there was no internet. There was no YouTube, no ESPN Plus, none of that. I mean, you either went to the movies or you went to an actual karate tournament itself.
To this day, it's one of the most epic matchups of all time.
It was the kick, heard around the world.
Clearly, not only was it illegal, but it was violent and potentially deadly.
Let's start this now!
Welcome to Cordkillers, the show about watching the stuff you love when you want, where you want, however you want. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey man, I'm Brian Brushwood, and more importantly, that was Johnny Lawrence appearing in the faux 30 for 30 documentary about the kick felt round the face.
Faux? What? That was so real.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you know what? It was definitely, for the first time, 30 for 30 did a 30 for 6. A 6-minute documentary about Daniel LaRusso kicking Johnny Lawrence in the face.
Joining us, noted Karate Kid expert Nicole Lee. Welcome back to the show.
Wax on.
There you go.
Hello, I'm happy to be back.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, happy to be here.
We have got a theory. We've got Peace in Our Time. We've got lots of cool TV shows and movies coming out to talk about. So let's get right to our primary target. All right. I'm going to lay out the case for why Disney Plus may be good for Netflix. We're starting with the Netflix earnings call last week. Netflix added a record 9.6 million subscribers, 1.74 million in the US, 7.68 million international. That's up 16%. Netflix had projected it would add more or less than that, so they beat their own projections. But then when they looked at Q2, Netflix said it would add 5 million subscribers. If that's the case, that would be down 8% over last year. A lot of people are saying, okay, it's about competition. It's about the price rise. And Netflix is like, yeah, the price rise has something to do with it. They're still making money, though. Netflix revenue was up 22% over last year, 76% per share earnings, well ahead of the expected 57 cents. So can they weather this oncoming storm? Well, there are more than 1 billion subscribers to pay TV worldwide, and IHS now estimates that all the online subscription video services, not just Netflix, but Hulu, Prime Video, etc., represent about half the users of pay TV. Netflix makes up 30% of all streaming video subscriptions. They are ahead of this race. They are in front. A report that came out today on Monday from Convergence Research points out that cord nevers, people who are like, you know what, I never had cable, I didn't cut the cord, I never got a cord, rose from 26% of households in 2017 to 30% in 2018. And cord nevers are more likely to subscribe to these single service options like Netflix, Hulu, Prime Video than they are to the multi-channel services like PlayStation Vue or YouTube TV. So there's another feather in Netflix's cap. They're ahead of the game. They've got a dominance in the market. And this is where the people are going to. They're going to services like theirs. Now, Todd Spangler at Variety proposes in his article that he suggests Disney Plus is good for Netflix, that new services from Disney, Apple, Warner Media, and others will be a rising tide of subscription video on demand. And a rising tide, as we know, often lifts all the boats, as long as the boats don't have holes in them. And that pay TV is going to end up being the real loser. That it's not that Disney Plus will steal from Netflix, it's that Disney Plus will steal from pay TV and Netflix will continue to steal from pay TV. And Netflix agrees. Netflix Chief Product Officer Greg Peters says, we don't really think there is sort of an immediate equivalency or substitution with these new services. And so mostly it's about how do we create more value? How do we put the right content and present it in the right way that's compelling and differentiating for our users? Variety says the real result of the expanded number of VOD options coming out will be to spur more people to cut the cord, which would be good for Netflix. Netflix execs often talk about this in sports terms. They'll say, look, when Major League Soccer came out, it didn't erode the NFL. It just meant more sports for sports fans. Moffett Nathanson says the consumer value propositions of Disney Plus and Netflix are different. Disney Plus is for families. It's for kids. It's family friendly. Netflix is more of a they called it a blockbuster video store. They've got something for everybody. And Chief Content Officer for Netflix, Ted Sarandos, claimed that its top 10 most watched shows are Netflix original brands. So even as it loses the licensed content to these other competitors, the most watched stuff on Netflix is continuing to be Netflix made stuff. Disney Plus will have a lighter TV lineup than Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime Video or CBS All Access. Disney Plus will have fewer movies than Netflix, Prime Video, Hulu, Stars, or HBO. However, Disney's top content does beat both Netflix and Amazon in consumer perceptions of quality, only falling short of HBO in quality. So again, different markets. Netflix is the everything store. Disney Plus is the high quality family stuff store. HBO is the high quality everything store, I guess. I think that means that, yes, there's room enough for more of these competitors. And if they steal, it will be from pay TV or each other, not Netflix. Therefore, Disney Plus coming in will just bring more attention to the idea of getting these services, which would be good for Netflix. Brian, Nicole, what do y'all think?
So for me, think about states in the United States competing for contracts. Let's take the Amazon HQ, where it's like you had a bunch of different states offering different incentives. So the states were competing against each other for this one particular lucrative contract to bring an HQ into their place. However, when you back out a little bit, it's still all in the United States. It's still all the US versus the rest of the world when it comes to business. That's what we're looking at right here. Yes. If I were to say, when you said that Disney Plus helps Netflix, that sounds like, wait, what? But then you back out and you realize that Disney Plus and Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hulu and Vudu and Crackle and all that are all different states in the United States of giving the middle finger to cable. Then you realize, of course, we want America to do well. And all the states will benefit as a result of creating to establish a more compelling union of podcasts or of content providers. I mean, it does sound a little bit counterintuitive at first, but it totally makes sense. I totally agree, because what they're really at war with is a different country of traditional cable providers.
You have been wanting to chant USGTMFTC now.
I think that's true for Netflix. I don't necessarily think that's true for Disney. And because Disney still has a lot of stake on traditional pay TV properties like ESPN and ABC and all of those things. So I don't necessarily think it's Disney, because Disney has like Disney channels, right, on regular TV. I'm sure that's where they get the most of the money anyway, at least for now. I do think it's not necessarily a bad thing for Netflix either. Like, as you mentioned, Netflix is almost a different audience than Disney's stuff. I do think, though, it seems like Disney Plus is trying to push the envelope a little bit on some shows. I need to look at the lineup a little bit more, but there are some shows that are maybe not completely family friendly. Like you have your certain Marvel titles, maybe some Star Wars spin-offs. I mean, I don't really know what.
They're not all 7+, but right. They're all at least PG, it seems like.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. So that's interesting. But just for me, just as that is just from my own personal take on it, is that even though the Disney Plus offerings are very interesting for me, because they're all original shows and I'm just not very convinced of it. I'm interested in the idea of a Loki show, but until I see the first episode, maybe the first 2 episodes, I'm not sure if I'm really that interested in watching the entire thing. I just don't know if I'm willing to pay that much money a month for untested shows, I guess. And I guess with Netflix, these are shows I already know. I like them already. I watch them every day already. So it's a very it's a thing I know, right? Versus something that I don't really know if I want to watch spin-off shows. Do I really want to watch alternate universe stuff? Maybe not. So I don't know. It's kind of a maybe for me at this point.
That's really interesting because you're the first person I think we've talked to in a while who doesn't look at Disney Plus and go, well, shoot, at that price, why not?
Right.
Right.
Right. But I'm just saying for the price, yes, but it's not going to be that price forever. They're gonna jack it up twice.
It's going to be
I'd
long
say
enough
one or
to
two.
establish complete and total market dominance. I think almost certainly it'll be around long enough to do that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I think what you're looking at is Disney Plus trying to convince you and people like you that, hey, The Mandalorian's pretty great. The Loki show's awesome. And now that we've got you, it's $10 a month, not $7 a month. Also,
or whatever. Yes.
a little side note too. I know we get a lot of people saying, how can I afford all these? If I get all the services, then that's going to cost me more than cable. And our usual reply is, yeah, but you don't have to get all the services. You have control over which ones you get and you can tailor it to your budget. However, a survey commissioned by OpenX found that American consumers who use over-the-top video services say they're willing to pay upwards of $100 a month on average for self-made bundles of subscriptions. So you may not think you want to pay $100, but it sounds like most people are like, yeah, I'm going to budget $100 for stuff.
Well,
whether it's PlayStation View and a combination of other things or just those individual subscriptions.
And we've talked about this before, but economists call it arbitrage, which is that natural inefficiency between one market and the other. Cable spent a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort putting together a package where it's like as much content as you can consume equals $100 a month. And all of America pretty much got in line and said, yeah, we're cool with that. So now it says the choice that people are making is not, do I want to spend $100 a month or not? What they're choosing is, do I want to be the person in charge of how to spend that budget of $100 a month? And it's like, okay, well, I'm more of a Crunchyroll kind of person. I'm more of a Crackle kind of person. I'm more of a Hulu kind of person. There is still a long way to go in that monthly budget that and a lot of room to spend. Like you could buy for that same $100, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, Crunchyroll, and I think I'm only like halfway there at this point.
Yeah, package however you want. And I think that's the key. And B-Master is saying the thing I hear a lot of people saying, which is exclusivity spoils the fun. But everything's always been exclusive to a channel, right?
Correct.
I think Netflix fostered this idea, not maybe even on purpose, but they certainly didn't combat it, that they were the place to watch everything. They had all the old TV shows and all the old movies, and the ones that they didn't have, they'd get. And then quickly pivoted away from that and said, you know what, that's unsustainable. We're going to make our own originals. And we're getting to a world where you are going to pick your channels based on what it is you want to watch. And all of them are exclusive, just like all channels have always been exclusive. The only difference is in the past, 90% of the channels were available in one bundle that you had to pay for a month and you didn't get to choose what was in it. And then a few channels were available in the second tier that you had to pay extra for. And then some channels were like HBO that you had to pay extra for, but you still had to get cable in order to pay for HBO. And now we've gotten rid of that underlying structure and you just pay for the ones that you want.
Here's one of the parts I wanted to bring up is one of the articles that you linked to in the show notes, Tom, was the Variety article where there was Ampere's analysis of the top 100 movie titles and television titles based on which service. And if you look, so you've got Netflix, the Ampere rating of quality for these, Netflix is actually the lowest because while Netflix originals are very well beloved by the individual niches that adore them, in general, Netflix casts such a wide net. They get so much garbage in there that you can't say that Netflix is, in general, highest quality, right? So the graph, by the way, imagine a circle in the upper left. We're looking at quality and time of release. CBS is up in the upper left-hand corner, pretty high, slightly higher. And to the right is Disney, so more recent and more high quality. And then slightly more recent and high quality than that is HBO. Way off to the right, most recent, in about the middle is Amazon, and then below that is Netflix. When you wrap your mind around the quality, because again, the catalog of Disney, small, like 10%, 15% of its competitors, very few selections in the Disney Plus archive, but they are in general widely beloved across the board.
Yeah, and I know what's funny is CBS has a high quality rating there as well, which I think shocks probably a lot of people in this audience because there's a cognitive dissonance between what CBS's audience thinks is quality, which is its primetime dramas, it's cop shows, it's sitcoms, it's all of that, versus what cord-cutting audiences find valuable, which is pretty much Star Trek Discovery, maybe The Good Fight, maybe The Twilight Zone. But it's a dissonance between the audiences there. Whereas HBO, I think, has more sympathy between the online audience and the kind of shows that it produces.
Well, and also HBO was Netflixing before Netflix. It's not TV, it's HBO. Yeah. They said what we want to do is create stunningly high quality artistic endeavors that break what has worked for television up until this moment. And that's when you see the investment in The Wire and The Sopranos and so on. And we're watching Netflix play from the same playbook.
Oh, 100%. There are shows on Netflix that I don't think are traditional TV shows for sure. Like the thing that comes to mind is Russian Doll. Like it's not a normal like CBS primetime show. Not that I think of. So maybe a cable show, right? But I do think that HBO and Netflix, they're kind of pushing the envelope of what quote unquote traditional TV is, and that's what I think is missing in regards to like the shows that are popular on CBS are your CSIs and your NCISs, which may not be quality in terms of what some people think is quality, but
certainly reliability
are still popular.
Yeah,
right.
No. Yeah, I would say that they value reliability over quality, right. Where it's like, no, you're not going to have an eye-watering experience watching NCIS, but that it'll be generally pleasant every Tuesday afternoon at 6:30 p.m. or whatever.
I think it was Moffat Nathan said they called Netflix Blockbuster, whereas HBO is like your hand-curated specialty video rental store. To translate it for people from the 1980s, right?
Yeah. For Austinites, it would be Vulcan Video to their Blockbuster.
Yes, exactly. All right. Folks, we know you only have $100 budgeted for your entertainment needs streaming over the internet, and we appreciate that so many of you are willing to give us a little bit of that budget.
Yeah, not even a whole lot. Have you enjoyed this to the tune of $1? Like this far into the program, would you give for us to split 3 / maybe more ways 35 cents? Good news, you can. Head on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers. Just pledge $1 per episode. It'll make all the difference in the world to us. You guys will never, ever, ever notice the difference on the bottom line, but know that you are changing the lives, especially as we get ready to build out physical infrastructure for our new world headquarters. Very exciting times up ahead. You want to be on the inside. Don't forget, you also get the After Talk segment where we talk about all this stuff that we can only hint at in the public feed. Head on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
We'll wait. Go do it.
Or you could pause. Tom, they can pause.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. This is not broadcast. They can pause. All right. You pause, go do that. And then when you come back, we'll talk about how to watch. Peace in our time, which I realize every time I say it is an allusion to Neville Chamberlain, whose peace didn't last, but maybe that's appropriate.
And is widely thought of as the proximate cause, one of the early causes of World War II.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's right or wrong. You tell me. In a joint statement, Amazon and Google announced that YouTube will be available on Amazon's Fire TV devices and smart TVs in the coming month after being gone for about a year. And the main YouTube app will arrive first, followed by YouTube TV and YouTube Kids. So YouTube coming back to some Amazon devices, not back on the Echo Show yet, for instance. Fire tablets and the Echo Show were not included in this rollout, but Prime Video is going to start working on Android TV, Chromecast, and other cast-enabled devices like TVs.
What do you think those conversations are like between representatives over at Amazon and representatives over at Google? Because I'm assuming that they meet each other at a conference, they have drinks together. Hey, I like you, you like me, and then it's like oh, it just seems like the climate between our two companies is not right. My guys are telling me to pull your app, and it's like, just so you know, okay, let's do that. And then at some point, it's like, good news. The climate's changed. I think we can work together on a joint statement. I would
like this
love
narrative.
all of this behind the scenes intel.
We don't know if it's true or not, but like, just the idea that it's like, Pat, I like you. We're gonna figure this out. I'm gonna call tomorrow, and then she remembered to call tomorrow. So at least it worked. It worked. Nicole, how excited are you that Amazon and Google have made up?
Well, finally, right? Like this. I mean, this. I feel like Amazon and Google have been at each other's throat for like everything, not just Amazon, Google, TV content, but like they won't sell Google things on Amazon. They won't, it's just a whole thing.
Right.
Amazon
And
products
they started selling again back in December, so I guess we should have known this was coming, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, so yes, I mean it's good for everybody. It's good for consumers. And it just was just so petty. It was just like the smallest, pettiest thing that you had to like, as a consumer, really, bite.
From a game theory perspective, I think I can kind of respect where all of this came from. And it goes back to my states versus union theory, where it's like in the beginning, when states considered themselves sovereign territories, then yeah, you want to compete and you want to say, hey, no, this is the line, this is over the line, this is under the line. But as increasingly more wealth comes in, and and the narrative as far as consumer dollars goes, increasingly becomes between, do I want to join the country of cord cutting or the country of traditional cable? I don't know. It seems like, of course, like we finally have grown wealthy enough as an independent nation that we're not really worried about tariffs between our states.
Or they made an agreement. They finally figured out the little details, like, all right, fine, we'll give you a little bit of a break on the commission for X, Y, and Z, or ad sales will be passed through this channel, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever it is, I am glad to see a little more interoperability happening, so that when you choose your devices, it's not like game consoles anymore where you choose based on the games you want to play. For a while, choosing your devices was like, well, which channels do you like? Which store do you like to shop at? Do you want YouTube, or do you want to use YouTube in a browser? That'll decide whether you want these devices. It would be nice to just pick the devices based on the device's capability, the hardware.
And to expand my metaphor, I think we're seeing the early days in VR where you have Vive and Pimax and Oculus all competing against each other with a scarcity mentality. They're still in the state versus state phase, and they haven't yet gotten to the point where they realize their unified enemy is traditional consoles, and that what they need to do is all band together, make it really, really easy to get, because right now, if for those who don't know, like Oculus is writing really big checks to keep certain titles exclusives on the Oculus side of things. I don't know. There's something to all this. It's a half-baked theory right now.
Well, I do, I guess it's another example of the rising tide can lift all boats, and they're finally agreeing, like, okay, if we just get more people buying devices.
We'll see if this rolls over to the Apple side of things, ? Apple Plus TV.
To that point, Apple TV AirPlay coming to a bunch of non-Apple devices, and even the iTunes Store coming to Samsung TVs. We're seeing some cracks in that armor too. Who knows? And Apple TV as a platform has Prime Video. It has Vudu. It got a bunch of these services that it didn't used to have too. I don't think you'll ever see Apple let another store on to replace the iTunes Store. That's the one thing that's always going to be.
I'm almost certain I said this before, and I forget which book I read it from, but it does feel also like we're echoing the me versus my brother, me and my brother versus my cousin, me and my brother and my cousin versus not our family. We're getting to that kind of coalescence.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got all these devices. What do we watch on them? Let's talk about it. And Under Surveillance.
Not like this, it's all about location. Under Surveillance.
I am old enough to remember Laugh-In. Laugh-In is 50 years old, and Laugh-In, The Stars Celebrate is a tribute original series by appearing on Netflix May 14th with Lily Tomlin and a bunch of people who were never on Laugh-In because the show's so old.
Very interesting.
Suck it to me, Netflix.
I'll tell you what. I know by reputation that Rowan Martin's Laugh-In was very subversive. All I remember it as is I didn't get the jokes when I was a kid. But looking back on it, they were doing peacenik stuff at a time that it wasn't very fashionable to be doing that. They were doing it on the public airwaves with a lot of metaphor. I want desperately to see the documentary that explains to me how subversive and ahead of its time it was, and I think this might be it? Question mark.
Yeah, I'm curious, and you know, you're getting Snoop Dogg, Neil Patrick Harris, a lot of big names, modern big names, but sometimes you get some interesting stories about these people and what they were inspired by on Laugh-In or et cetera. So I don't know. Nicole, do you even remember Laugh-In? Do you even care?
I think I'm a little too young for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know of them, and it'd be interesting to watch it nevertheless.
This is why Netflix is a blockbuster, because it has things like Laugh-In's 50th anniversary. Also, if you're going to be really sad not to see Sansa Stark anymore after May 19th, well, good news. She's also Jean Grey in Dark Phoenix, which has a new trailer out for the movie that comes out June 7th.
Have we heard her American accent yet?
I mean, I think she's spoken in the trailers.
She's been in previous X-Men movies, if that's what you mean.
Oh my God, how did I not know that? I didn't know that was Sansa in those movies. Wow.
This is just the first movie that has her as the kind of the main character.
Right. Okay. I didn't even realize it was the same actor. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, remember they had the big shift when they went to X-Men Generations.
Right.
Yeah. And she became Jean Grey in the youngsters version. So you didn't watch this trailer, huh?
Nope.
All right. How about the rest of you? Nobody? No. Okay. So everybody watch the trailer and buy a ticket because it's my movie in the movie theater. This does not bode well for me. I understand. Netflix also unveiled a teaser for an Arabic original. Remember, Netflix is making local content in a lot of the markets that it's launched, and it's launched in almost all the markets in the world. The Arabic original is called Jinn. It's a high school teen drama about Arabic high school students kind of spending a night in this area where the jinn are supposed to be, and then it looks like a spooky supernatural. I mean, it looks like a typical high school drama. It's just set in an Arabic area and with Arabic speaking actors coming June 13th.
Isn't that where the finale, the final act of Indiana Jones and the Holy Grail takes place?
A high school?
No, well, no. Where they're all
Arab high
having,
school?
where they're all having this. All right, whatever. Don't worry about it.
I will say this is super interesting. I think I'm a little bit into mythology, so the idea of the jinn is very interesting to me because I think people tend to think of Muslim societies as very, it's only Islam, that's the only thing they believe in. But in Arab societies, they believe in like mystic things too, like jinns, and it's very interesting.
Yeah. And if you don't know what jinn is, we're not talking about the drink. We're talking about Jinn, often attributed as the source of the name genie, for instance. So, you know, that kind of stuff. New Child's Play trailer is out, and it's the first one with the voice of Mark Hamill as Chucky. Child's Play coming to theaters June 21st.
Is this the one where he takes over your smart home?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an app for that.
How much influence can Mark Hamill possibly have on this movie? Because he is a truly gifted voice actor and in general has a good track record of being associated with high quality projects. But beyond that, how dialed in on the Mark Hamillness of this should we be?
I mean, okay, we all have an idea of what Chucky sounds like. It's a pretty iconic voice, I would say, if we're at all familiar with Child's Play. And so we're going to be comparing that. And I think it's kind of smart for them to say, well, since you're comparing it, compare it to your childhood icon, Mark Hamill, who, as many of us know, is an accomplished voice actor. So I don't know that he has to have an impact on the story per se. I think it just helps mollify some people like, oh, okay, so they got a really good person to do Chucky. That's good. It won't suck. And also, it may mean that this movie is good if Mark Hamill said, yeah, okay, I'll sign up for that because, like you say, he does pick good stuff.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah. Like just the idea of his seal of approval by participation, especially because it was an eyebrow raising thing when he took on the voice of the Joker in the 90s, Batman animated series and all that stuff. So if this is an implicit endorsement of the overall project and vision, okay. All right. Yeah, I see that.
Fast and Furious Hobbs and Shaw had a trailer out last week. It hits theaters August 2nd. And I have to say, despite myself, I loved this trailer.
Really?
I have only ever seen the original Fast and Furious, and I saw it like 2 years ago. I am not a fan of the franchise. I don't think it's a bad franchise. I just don't know the franchise, but I didn't care, which is exactly what they're going for with this is like, Fast and Furious fans, please come in. We have Hobbs and Shaw. Non-Fast and Furious fans, forget that it's Fast and Furious. We have these two fine actors in an action movie.
Dude, that's
I'll
great.
watch it. I'll watch Idris Elba in anything. That's awesome.
And in fact, actually, them sort of stepping away with it, like it could be under the Fast and Furious umbrella, but because the Hobbs and Shaw will be in a bigger font than Fast and Furious, I think I'm more likely to see this than I would another Fast and Furious movie.
I mean, it's got Idris Elba as the villain. And people have been saying up till now, like, so you're pretty much setting him up to be a superhero in a Fast and Furious movie. And this trailer has them refer to Idris Elba's character as Black Superman twice.
Dude, that's great.
Yeah, I don't have this movie in the movie draft, but I still think you should buy a ticket early. Finally, Netflix noted its series based on the Witcher books will arrive in Q4, last 3 months of the year. Not much to say other than like, oh, okay, so we're going to get to see it end of the year.
Of this year?
Yep.
Oh,
yeah,
that's pretty close for not a lot of footage to be out there.
That's what I was about to say. Is like we've had this story pop up a number of times on this program. You would expect by now we would see literally anything.
A teaser.
Not seeing anything. A little bit nervous about. Sometimes that's a master stroke because then you could get the whole world excited all at once. Other times it's an indication that maybe what they have is not great to show. I don't know.
And with Netflix, they may not care if it's not great to show, right? They're like, we know this many people will watch Witcher no matter what we put out there. And it's got Henry Cavill, so we know this many people who are fans of Superman will watch Henry Cavill. I don't know what that means for quality.
We got a bit of that out of Russian Doll. Like that just dropped to me. I mean, outside, I think we probably mentioned it here somewhere, but it felt like it just came out of nowhere and it was just lovely and wonderful and had me instantly.
CBS series Picard has cast Allison Pill, who you might know as the intern on The Newsroom, if you watch that show on HBO, Harry Treadway, who's currently in Penny Dreadful, and Issa Brion from American Crime Story Versace as series regulars. So no, it's not going to be a bunch of old people alongside Picard.
Man, I hope all three of them are elderly care nurses and he's just, they're all just taking care of him.
Where's Data? We have no other details about this at all. To be honest. So who knows? And then Pablo Schreiber, who plays the Leprechaun, King of Luck on American Gods, has been cast as Master Chief in the Halo series coming to Showtime. Production starting this autumn.
Yeah. Do you either, all four of us, do any of us have excitement about the Halo series? Is that by Halo?
Not my
for
game,
Halo,
so
or?
I don't feel like I would, but I'm curious.
I don't really think of the story when I think of Halo, so not really.
Well,
and this also feels like one of those projects that kind of like the Uncharted project, where we know someone's been working on it for a long time, and there's always some sort of personnel announcement. But
similar to, I guess our next story, Why the Last Man, and also The Dark Tower, where it's just like they're perpetually or Lock and Key.
Minecraft, we just found out, this is not on our lineup, but they were making a Minecraft movie that was supposed to come out this year and it's now been pushed a few years. You know, all this video game stuff gets into development just so someone can.
Goucham in the chat points out that there is a deep mythology to Halo in terms of the epic storytelling side of things. I agree. Personally, I've always had a problem with the main character being called hero protagonist. It's
a naval thing. Master Chief. Master Chief's a real rank.
Sure.
My dad's a Master Chief.
Hey, hero protagonist worked for Neil Stephenson.
It did, but that was with an intentionally ironic wink that I did not detect in Halo. That's
Halo.
fine.
Fair enough. All right. I can't wait to see who gets cast as Chief Petty Officer. I have to say, as somebody who's not immersed in the Halo video game series, casting Pablo Schreiber has caught my interest because I thought he was pretty good in American Gods.
Cool.
And as you mentioned, Why the Last Man has lost Ida Mashaka Kroll and Michael Green over creative differences. The series will move ahead with the cast once a new showrunner is found. So we can go two ways with this. We could obsess over their tweet to find out the real reason that they're leaving the project, or we could speculate about the future of Why the Last Man and who might come in to be the showrunner. They're not recasting it, so obviously they're pretty serious about continuing production. I don't know.
It'll be interesting. It'd be interesting to see if there's a spreadsheet of some kind of shows that have lost their showrunners and whether they were good or they were still good or better than when they left.
Yeah,
I'm curious about that, but go on.
I will say this much, man. I guess the counterfactual to this is I really did end up ultimately enjoying Solo, and that's the prototypical example I could think of where it's like I liked past tense I liked the original showrunners, and then they got kicked out, and then someone who I liked less took it over, and I ended up ultimately liking the final product. So hopefully it's more of a Solo thing.
Solo project. That's what you're hoping for. And then Netflix picked up Mama K's Team 4, which is produced by South Africa's award-winning Triggerfish Animation Studios, along with a British company that does a lot of kids and family entertainment production called Cake. The series follows 4 teenage girls living in a futuristic version of Lusaka, Zambia, who are recruited by a retired secret agent to save the world, and it is created by a Zambian writer, Malenga Mulindima.
Very cool.
Yeah, the superhero animation set in Africa. That's Netflix for you, right? Sounds interesting.
Well, and the big question nowadays is not whether or not it can be good, but whether or not it will have mainstream global appeal, because we are increasingly, that becomes the new bet, not whether or not they hit a minimum standard of quality with each of these Netflix originals. Now what we're all hoping for is like, please be good enough that some suit over at Netflix decides to just pop it in either mine or my kids' feed as recommended based on algorithmic metrics that of quality art product.
I'd drop mainstream from that because, again, as we know, Netflix doesn't care if it's got mainstream appeal as long as it has enough appeal to a particular niche.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
Or specifically crossover appeal, right? Like something like Terrace House is got a very specific appeal, a lot of crossover appeal,
It's
but
a good
not
way to couch it.
mainstream.
Yeah. No. It's not mainstream appeal. It's crossover appeal that I'm seeking.
Yeah.
Bingo. However, someone with mainstream appeal is Beyoncé, and Beyonce's Homecoming doc premiered on Netflix. Variety says that is the first of 3. Netflix signed a $60 million 3-project deal with Miss Carter.
Cool.
Bryce, yeah, you want to chime in? You watch this?
I watched Homecoming. It was pretty good. A little distracting because they kept cutting back and forth between the 2 different weekends performances, and they had like different outfits for everybody. But a very impressive show. You saw it too, Tom, right?
Yeah, it was more. I had watched the concert last year at Coachella, and so I mean, certainly this was a better version of it because it's edited and shot, in nice HD. It's not streaming live. Right. It was weird the first time they switched between the weekends and their outfit colors changed, and I was like, well, "That's a cool lighting effect. I don't remember that." And then I was like, "Oh wait, no, they're switching between entirely different weekends." I would have liked more documentary content when they went behind the scenes and showed them preparing and everything. Found it really compelling. But they essentially focused on the concert and giving you the best moments from each weekend of a full concert. And the documentary stuff was just kind of setting up between bits. So
it's almost as if it should have been 2 movies. Like one is the actual concert movie and one is like the behind the scenes of it. I can see that.
Yeah.
Well, we will find out what else is coming from Beyonce on Netflix because she's got 2 more projects coming. Let's talk about something we've been watching in Eyes On. Nicole, what have you been keeping your eyes on?
So I thought I'd mention the last movie I watched, which was Captain Marvel. I know it was a while ago, but since we're going into Avengers weekend, it's sort of nice tie-in there, I suppose. Watching it was really interesting, and I don't really know what I expected to get out of the Captain Marvel movie. I really enjoyed it thoroughly. I don't think it was my favorite Marvel movie, and I think it's because I think my favorite Marvel movies have a lot more like story to it. And even though this does definitely have story, I did think it was maybe lacking a little bit in like my like the depth of character, perhaps. And it's just my personal thing. I did enjoy it a lot. I enjoy the action scenes, like the alien characters, without spoiling anything. It was just really, I love the dynamic between Nick Fury and Carol. I love the dynamic of them. The sort of buddy cop movie feel was really entertaining. And so that was a entertaining movie by far. I do think you should try to watch it before Avengers. You see, she seems to be pretty pivotal role in the upcoming movie, so that seems like a good must watch if you're a Marvel person. But yeah, that's what I think of Captain Marvel. Well,
and the post-credits scene feels like it belongs in Endgame. Whether they actually replay it or not, which they've done before, they might. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think it was very entertaining and very good. As far as the female superhero movie and like whether it's like empowering women or whatever, I thought Wonder Woman did a better job of that because of the whole like the island and moving. This is my own personal opinion on that. And then the next recommendation I have is the Bill Murray stories. So this is a documentary that you can watch on Netflix right now. And I just watched it the other day, just randomly. I just watched it, and I love it. It's a great documentary. If you ever heard of those Bill Murray stories of like Bill Murray was like was in a random bar and he like bartended for like an hour and sort of strange little folklore stories of Bill Murray entering someone's home and like playing a concert and very interesting stories, right? So this documentary is called The Bill Murray Stories: Life Lessons Learned from a Mythical Man. And it basically follows all of these people that have had these encounters with Bill Murray and how he has basically not changed their life, but added a sparkle to their life because just randomly out of nowhere, they were just going to a normal house party with a normal person, and that was just Bill Murray that DJing for just no particular reason, and it was just a wonderful story about the spontaneity of this human being and how the fact that he has no agent, he has no like movie agent, so the only way to contact him is through this 800 toll number that only like very few people have, and it's like he was sort of elusive, mythical, but he's a real human being, and I thought it was a very uplifting story on how small moments can really be a wonderful life experience.
This is great because I believe very much in this idea that small moments create legends, that create stories and go on from there. And especially in the pre-show, we were talking about how we're building up HQ. Like we want to create all of those small moments. Like we did an episode of The Modern Rogue where we did a pirate radio station. So now I'm already thinking about like, okay, as you drive into this headquarters, you tune into 88.7, what snippet of a larger mythological story should you hear on your car radio as you pull on in? That's great. I'm really excited about this recommendation.
You should watch it also because there's a part on it when Bill Murray walking through South by Southwest and going through like a random Austin house party during South by Southwest. And there was a concert, like basically a mini concert in someone's house during the whole Austin festivity. So you were totally some Austin stuff in there for sure.
That is awesome. Tom,
Austin.
Okay. Yeah, yes, and I continue to watch Barry. We watched Office UK. We, of course, are going to talk about Game of Thrones. Man, oh man, is it ever fun to replay content for your kids? My 6-year-old is old enough now that she just finished Avatar: The Last Airbender and is now on The Legend of Korra. My 11-year-old is just old enough that I showed her the first half of The Matrix, and we're going to watch the second half soon. It's a lot of old stuff I get to revisit nowadays.
I kind of love this new segment of the show. Brian introduces amazing works of art to his daughters. Like this is not the first time you've talked about this, and it's pretty great.
Well, and there is kind of its own experiential art to it, where it's like it's a little bit seductive. You have to explain what they're going to get out of it in such a way that they're interested in saying yes, and then you find yourself apologizing for stuff as it's happening. And we talked, I believe, last week about The Prestige, how the kids were not a fan of the killing of the bird in that movie. But I don't know. There's something special about like, okay, what have I experienced that I value enough that I want very much to give this gift to my kids? And at what cost am I willing to do that?
Yeah. Well, stay tuned, folks, for future editions of Cordkillers.
Cordkillers!
I want to mention Star Trek Discovery. I know I've mentioned it before as something I've been watching, but wow, I really liked this season. I thought they finished strong, not just because they had the most epic space battle ever in Star Trek history, but partly because they had the most epic space battle in Star Trek history. It's not the best season of Star Trek ever necessarily, but it was thoroughly enjoyable. Versus the first season where I had to make excuses to myself to be like, okay, I'm going to let that go. I'm going to let that go. And then I can enjoy this. I didn't have to do that this season. And it was pretty amazing. And bringing in Captain Pike, who is a character from the unaired pilot, was a risky decision. And I think they made it work. Bryce, what are you on the lookout for?
Hey, we got a letter from Adam. Adam writes, subject line, I'm sorry. That's my pick for what people should be watching. I discovered it by random when browsing Netflix recommendations, and my goodness, is the show beyond funny. It is a half-hour comedy surrounding a mother of a 5-year-old and her husband, and the parents and all the shenanigans that happen to them, and the things that she has to deal with as a woman who is simultaneously dirty-minded. She's a comedian and loves making questionable jokes, yet is a mother of a young child who also has to be a good, clean mom. If you like shows with very, very clever dialogue or that does not pull any punches about possibly offensive or somewhat dirty topics, or if you like shows like Veep, this is the show for you. We have literally laughed out loud at every single episode we have watched for 2 seasons, and for some, I have been downright in tears.
Oh my God, this sounds like it was written specifically for my wife. I'm gonna have to. We'll have to check this out.
I watched the first 2 episodes today before this, and I felt a lot of Bonnie energy.
Oh, that's amazing!
From this show.
Oh, I'm so thrilled. I have a gift to give Bonnie. That's awesome.
So Adam continues. The sad thing is, not a single person I know has mentioned it or has ever seen it or heard of it. So I am being a one-man marketing machine for what is my absolute favorite comedy on television. Adam also shared how he has been watching the show. Season 1 is on Netflix for him, and season 2, which just aired, is on the True TV app. He pulls it up on his iPad and airplays it to his Apple TV. Season 2 just finished airing on True TV. So when I looked, a lot of the full episodes were on the True TV website, but not all of them. You should always check Just Watch or even Google. Google pops up information about where you can find or buy these shows. So,
all right, I'm participating in the campaign. I just texted my wife Bonnie, I'm sorry, and I know she'll respond to that. And when she does, I'll explain. Oh no, we should watch the show. This sorry.
This is the name. It sounds like this is a True TV show that Netflix has the license for the back episodes of. So maybe they'll keep showing up on Netflix, as the seasons air,
hopefully,
and age, which would be cool. And True TV has a connection to you, Brian, because it is the network that used to be called Court TV.
Yes, indeed. Although Court TV is now back with a vengeance.
Someone else bought the name and is bringing back Court TV. So
second week in a row, I should have worn my Court TV hat from my failed pilot.
Oh well, folks, if you got something we should be on the lookout for, please email us cordkillers@gmail.com. Also, subscribe to my newsletter. It's free. I'm Tom. It's a newsletter, so it's at freetomnewsletter.com. It will free me to discuss things with you because you can respond to it, and I get your email, which is a pretty great way of just chatting with people. But every Friday I put it out, and it tells you, like, I'm going to Worldcon in August with Veronica Belmont for Sword and Laser stuff. We're gonna have a meetup there, or I'm gonna be in Las Vegas this weekend for the TMS meetup in Las Vegas. If you want to find out about this stuff, you got to subscribe, and it gives you links to all the shows I do, including Cordkillers and Spoilerin Time, Daily Tech News Show, Current Geek, Sword and Laser, and more. It's at freetomnewsletter.com. Let's move on to the front lines.
Front lines.
Newsweek reports that Kevin Feige told fans in Shanghai that Spider-Man Far From Home will be the official end of the 3rd phase of the MCU. This is similar to how Feige considered the first Ant-Man movie to be the official end of the 2nd phase. Not Age of Ultron, but Ant-Man, which came out right after. Spider-Man comes out July 2nd.
This feels a little bit like embracing the Game of Thrones style, where it's like the real ending is the episode before the end of the season, and then you have something kind of lighter to just sort of put a button on everything at the end. Does that feel right to you?
Sort of. I was wondering about that too until I thought of Ant-Man, and I'm like, oh, okay. Ant-Man didn't point to what happens after Ultron. It existed in the bubble of, wow, Ultron just happened. Let's tell a story in that immediate aftermath. So yeah, it's kind of like an epilogue, which is pretty similar to what you're talking about. But I don't expect Spider-Man to give me extra insight into Endgame so much as not point to the next phase, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, my expectations are shockingly low for the Spider-Man movie. That trailer really got me not interested in it.
Nicole?
The trailer, I kept watching the trailer. I was like, oh, I see some people are not in this trailer. What does that mean for Endgame? So I was kind of like meta analyzing it for that kind of thing. But I really liked the first one, the first Spider-Man.
Homecoming.
Yeah, I got Homecoming a lot. So hopefully the second one is as good.
I loved Homecoming, and that's why this just felt like, no, they're going to Europe. Like going to Europe was code
right.
for, like, that's what you did with the Family Ties franchise when they ran out of ideas. Is you sent them to Europe and you made a made-for-TV movie.
It's Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home, then Spider-Man Home Sweet Home, then Spider-Man Home
Spider-Man's and his homies, and then.
Or maybe this means Beyonce's second Netflix movie will be Beyonce Far From Home.
Fair enough. Meanwhile, Netflix announced in the UK it will test showing viewers top 10 lists of most popular content by categories. Chief Content Officer Ted Sarandos says that Netflix plans to share more granular data on viewing with producers and customers. That last part is the part that excites me the most, because it is a fairly universal frustration in Hollywood that Netflix tells nobody nothing. Like, they understand that data is valuable and they keep it to themselves, much to the frustration of their own creators who don't get to hear why, what, and how people like.
I understand why Netflix doesn't want to share numbers publicly, because who cares? They're not in a ratings war with anybody. But producers are humans who want to know, like, but how good did I do? And so that makes sense to feed that and be like, well, you did pretty well. Let me show you some numbers. Let me show you some data analysis. The analytics are probably more important than just the raw numbers. But I'm super fascinated with this idea of showing most popular lists, because it may be one of the best ways to solve Netflix fatigue, where people feel like, I don't know what to watch. I know you've got this algorithm and you're recommending something I think I'll watch, but I just don't know. Sometimes people want to watch what everyone else is watching. There's a mentality to that.
I feel desperately trapped in the bubble. And we've talked about this on Night Attack, how when I go to Reddit, I want to go to the /r/all page, because I don't want to know what you think I'm going to like. I want to know what everybody else is liking. And I think that this is probably an acknowledgement that sites like instantwatcher.com has already been doing this, kind of getting a general sense of what people are watching. And so it's like, well, it's already out there. We'll just own it and put our name on it.
I think this way too, if you like a show that's not on that list, that gives you a more incentive to like hype it up even more to get on that list. Perhaps.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Very good. Yeah, no, because then if your favorite show isn't on there, now you have something special, and you get to, like, there are things I think about tweeting, but I'm like, oh, but everybody knows that. If I know for a fact that everybody doesn't know about that, then I'm more excited to share it.
So this is only happening in the UK. So UK viewers, cordkillers@gmail.com. Let us know if you see it and if you find it useful. Meanwhile, talking about numbers, according to HBO, 17.4 million people watched the season 8 premiere of Game of Thrones, passing the 16.9 million people who watched last season's finale, and showing that serializing a story can definitely pay off.
Yeah, right? Yeah, all right. Good for you, HBO.
It's kind of interesting to me that the premiere of this season had a bigger audience than last season by almost 1 million. I mean, that's pretty huge.
Well, and there is what I'm trying to do, Tom, is avoid saying things that I want to save for Spoilerin Time about Game of Thrones. But Android police spotted a test showing up the Android version of Netflix for some users. A new row called Play a Popular Episode lists shows like New Girl, Our Planet, or The Office with a play button and a shuffle icon. The play controls for an episode of such shows as the play controls for an episode of such shows offers a random episode option next to audio and subtitles.
Well, this is a whole other take on this. Not a popular list, but this is not a serialized show, so you can watch any episode. Would you like us to pick it for you?
Yeah, or maybe like that thing everybody's talking about. It seems like this is code for. Like everybody's seen this. How about you?
Yeah, and well, because it's not going to play episode 1. It's sort of taking away, you still have to pick the show, right? It's not saying, do you feel lucky? Press this and we'll play a show, which I actually would prefer, but probably most people wouldn't. This is saying like, you feel like watching The Office? Here, sample one. Boom, we'll just play one for you.
Yeah, that works.
Nicole, would you use this?
No. Just because I would just rather watch the first episode. Just for me, I would feel weird just jumping in.
Do you rewatch episodes at all? Like series at all?
It depends on the series sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. I could see this for The Office, particularly. I could see this where I'm like, I've seen all these, but just play me one. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Sure.
Do you think someone could jump into say The Office just from a random episode, or even New Girl? Like New Girl is a show that has long arcs.
I think it's more if you've already seen it.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know though. I do feel like there's a VJ experience that is different when it's like, look, you and I both know you're never going to watch all of The Office, but the rest of America has. And there's 2 or 3 episodes you need to see. Like the same thing I'm doing for my teenage and 11-year-old daughter is what I think they can virtualize in this experience.
Although that's not what this is random. This is just picking an episode. It's not selecting.
But it's specifically a popular episode, which I assume would be like, you've got to see the one episode of this show.
Yeah, you're right.
I will say this would be good for some series more than others. I feel this would be pretty good for Doctor Who. Or Star Trek, perhaps, where there's
a lot of garbage out there,
right?
Yeah,
right. But there's certain episodes, right? It's sort of standalone-ish.
I'm Star Trek curious, but I'm told that there is some bad Star Trek. I'm heroin curious, but I'm told there's some bad junk out there. Just give me something that's not garbage, and let me decide.
Clean Picard.
Yeah, clean Picard.
Finally, Philo is eliminating its $16 a month plan. Philo is one of the cheapest streaming services out there, multi-channel streaming services out there. It is mostly Viacom, AMC, Discovery channels. It used to offer 45 channels for $16 a month and 58 channels for $20 a month. Now it's just going to offer all 58 channels for $20 a month. That price change takes effect May 6th. For new subscribers. If you're an existing subscriber, not only can you keep your 45 channel package at $16 a month, but according to this TechCrunch article, you can switch back and forth. And you could switch to the 58 channel and still be able to switch back to the 45 channel as long as you had the 45 channel package before May 6th.
So is this a natural consequence of Philo being crowded out of the over-the-top market? Is that what's happening? Where it's just like they're bigger players and so they got to be a price player?
I don't know if it's that or if it's just that general price pressure on all of these services. And everybody's raising their rates, YouTube TV, Hulu, everybody. So why not? Philo's like, you know what? Let's simplify things and just make the most money we can make.
Yeah.
Because it's not a price rise. It's just a package elimination.
Well, and I think if you're going to play the lower end of the market, you want a simplicity to your marketing message, right? And they get to simplify. You don't. Every decision gate is an opportunity for someone to say, I'll decide this later, and then not make that decision. So it probably does make sense to simplify it that way.
Well, folks, let's move on to some dispatches from the front. Anton wrote in and pointed out that DVDs have different language tracks. Why don't they have different audience level tracks? In other words, why can't tracks for R-rated shows be PG rated shows as an alternative, right? So if I could pick Spanish, why can't I pick, oh, give me the TV version, give me the PG version of this R-rated movie? He says, I think the recut Deadpool 2 shows that there is a market for this type of re-editing.
I love this idea, but then again, I'm somebody who wants desperately to show my children like Logan, which I was rewatching over the last few days, and I was just like, you get to that moment where you're like, yeah, I can't. This one will tap out for this reason and that reason. I think that would be great. The only downside is, could you get the content creators to sign off on that flexibility? Because I know that in general they don't dig having their stuff censored.
But for decades, alternate versions were made for broadcast television, right? And that was because you had to if you wanted to put it on broadcast television. So, there's a little more pressure there. I get that. But I think streaming services could make an argument like, hey, you know what? This is more valuable to us and we'll kick a little more money your way if you let us create an alternate version for this. I'm sure not everybody would agree to it, but I bet some would.
I think if it was just language, that's doable, but if it's more heavy editing, like certain scenes are cut out, it might be a little more difficult.
Yeah,
because then at what point are you making like an R-rated cut versus a PG-13 cut versus and how much extra production time does that go into, and then we're talking about creator vision. I don't know.
Well, and I think that's what Anton is saying is like, yes, you can do that, and there's. Well, again, we had cuts that were appropriate for airplanes, and we still have those. We have cuts that are appropriate for broadcast television. We don't have those so much anymore. That can be done. But Anton's saying in some cases, maybe you could just do an alternate language track and it'd be fine. Like you don't have to have an alternate cut.
Right. And certain words are beeped out or whatever. Also, I think I'm experiencing a strong nostalgia for the days of the monoculture, where as we begin to splinter off into all these individually siloed content tribes, part of me would love to see, like, okay, look, your 11-year-old is never going to watch Logan, but let's say all her friends might know about it, or her parents or cousins or whatever. Like, give me a 45-minute version of Logan, where and even throw a VJ on there that is like, okay, this part, and then smash cut. Be like, yeah, so at this point he sticks his claws in all of their heads. It's super graphic, but they're all frozen. Describe whatever, and then keep on going. Like, at least she becomes culturally synced up with all of her peers and doesn't have to experience the artistic stuff that would be distasteful to her. Like, I would appreciate the option of that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that's interesting. I think there's something there, Anton. Thanks for writing in.
Brian G writes in, hey, Brian and Tom, I wrote to you after moving to Canada 1 year ago to tell you how terrible the cord cutting experience was. Well, things are slowly getting better. TSN, which is Canada's equivalent to ESPN, recently launched a streaming service, TSN Direct. It's $20 a month or even $5 a day if you just want to catch one game. Just a few months ago, Amazon Prime Video became available on the Roku. Soon, Disney will bring Hulu to Canada, although I guess it'll be after the Disney acquisition is finalized. And Disney Plus will launch in Canada as well. So in 1 year, we went from just Netflix to adding a major sports network, Amazon Prime Video, and soon Hulu and Disney Plus. Things are looking up. Cord cutting is taking off in the north. Thank you very much, Brian G.
In fact, TSN being available for $20 a month direct, you're ahead of the game. We don't have that option for ESPN unless you count Sling TV. Being $20 a month. So it's kind of there, but it's not an official ESPN offering. Yeah. And then Ben from Texas has an idea for those of us who say we missed that thing where you could just turn on TV and you don't have to make a choice. You could just say, what's on, turn it on, and it would play something for you. He says, since we cut the cord, I've wanted a service where you could give it a list of shows and it would create a playlist, shuffling them all together, keeping the episodes of each individual show in order. It could play 2 to 3 episodes from one thing, then jump to your next show. It'd have to be smart enough to know to switch apps, but I'd love something that I could just hit play on to watch 2 episodes of The Office, then some Bob Burgers, then Good Place, etc. I'm sure Brian wouldn't want to set this up and would want it to just automatically add shows it thinks you might like, but maybe that could be a setting too. Anyway, keep up the great work, Ben.
Yeah.
I need this.
Whatever
this is, I need it.
Yeah.
I need it, especially for like long plane flights. I mean, this would be amazing.
Yes, Ben, please invent this or pay someone to invent it. I'm with you. I think Ben's got the right idea here.
I think it's great.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is I think we're looking for the services to provide this kind of thing, but I don't think it will be the services. I can totally picture an Android AI app that you ascribe agency with your own services that does this for you. Then you don't have to involve Hulu, Netflix, or any of that stuff. Nobody has to create it on a system-wide level. It's just an agent working on your behalf on your phone.
That's what Apple is doing with Apple TV Plus.
I
know we all focus on the original shows, which will be a huge part of it, and nobody knows exactly what part of it, but the ability to make it easier to get to what you want to watch is really what they're going to be marketing. I think.
Yeah, and we got that one email saying that machine learning sounds like a buzzword. That's where the machine learning comes in.
Yeah, and by the way, a week ago from Saturday on Daily Tech News Show, we interviewed Karen Howe from MIT Technology Review about how to tell the difference between when machine learning is just a buzzword and when it's real. And there is real machine learning. So
cool.
Check it out. All right. Nicole Lee, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
If folks want to follow what you're doing, where should they go?
You can just go to twitter.com/Nicole.
It's that easy, folks. It was the first Twitter account I ever followed. It should be the one you follow today, twitter.com/Nicole. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We're live on twitch.tv/Night Attack, which is also carried on diamondclub.tv, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We'll see you again next time.
Hey guys, Brian and Tom here, and it's just the same old message at the end of the credits, just like always.
That's right, Brian. Nothing new here except your name showing up.
Oh my gosh,
because
I've got a
you
name.
just supported us on Patreon.
Yeah, all those $5 donors, look at that. That's your name in pixels. We're gonna make you famous, kid. Put your name in pixels on the
classic
internet.
names in there, but some of you are new. Some of you aren't there. It's sad. What can they do, Brian?
I mean, they could go to patreon.com/Cordkillers and pledge $5 an episode and be one of these amazing people, like this one.
Amazing.
Oh, look at that name right there.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.